everybody. My name is Maria. I'm co-founder at Here to Start. Hello. Greeting you from Bogota, Colombia. Look at these mountains. Boom, boom. There. So what is happening right now that we decided to make this discussion panel public? Yes, you can access to it everywhere. You can share everything that you think that is important to add to this conversation, and especially your questions via comments, So for all attendees at Here to Start Fest, this is the second panel that we have about stories, on internationals that are there in the Netherlands. And I say there because I'm not there, but I live in the Netherlands for almost a decade. And we're going to share, how is it? How is it to be there? What is our life? How does it look like? What are our challenges? Everything you need to know. And of course, everything you need to learn about these amazing women that we're going to introduce you today. We didn't do it on purpose. Disclaimer that it's a casual thing that we end up with only female entrepreneurs and female entrepreneurial people within our discussion panels. And we do it also to show you how it's done from our perspective, and to hopefully inspire you, give you guidelines on how to proceed, regardless if you're in the Netherlands already and you're considering to start your own business, or if you're like me right now abroad thinking about the Netherlands as the next steps, to grow and to develop who you are and what you want to do as an international entrepreneur. So welcome everybody. I'm going to be introducing our guest speakers one by one. And after that, we're going to do a Q&A, really fun and interactive Q&A on many different aspects of entrepreneurial life, entrepreneurial lives, challenges, tips, everything you'll need to know. So yes, let's go. First things first, Sandra Rincon, co-founder as well at Here to Start. Welcome, Sandra.
Thank you, Maria Lucia. What a wonderful initiative. I'm so excited to see, yesterday and today, and so many participants and the sessions, and it's just been a tremendous uplifter, right? Oh, well, as you said, I'm Sandra Rincon, and I'm also co-founder of Here to Start. And maybe I'll say just a little bit before how this whole started. I've been living in the Netherlands for a long time, so I don't count the years anymore.
How long is long? Yeah, I just wanted to stop counting.
It is long. Gosh, I think I came when I was 33 or so it's been a little while. Anyway, but I don't look as old as I am. Exactly. Anyhow, when I arrived in the Netherlands, it was a time where actually emails didn't even exist at the time. Yeah. So that's how long it is. And we didn't have LinkedIn. Of course, we didn't have any of these digital possibilities. And it was very, very difficult to find a job. And I came, I was born in Colombia. I grew up in the US, and I married a Dutch, and we ended up here. And I had started my career in the US, and I came, trying to get back into my career here. And it was very difficult because there was no networks, there were no communities for me to be able to tap on. I've been in international higher education for 30 years. And so consequently, you had to really find your way in a very hard way. So my heart has always been, how can I facilitate that other internationals can find a way to get into the market, make it easier for them to find a job, because as professionals, that's one of, our identity parts, right? That is so essential. So that's how it all started. And I worked at Tilburg University, and there we set up the whole international alumni relations program that gave me the opportunity to work in terms of how do you go about developing communities, and particularly of professionals. I've been building communities my whole life because that's what you do as an international, right?
That's what
Maria Lucia, you know that.
Yes.
So that was where Maria Lucia and I met, because Maria Lucia and I worked together in building these international communities as well. And later on, as we both took our different routes, we came back at some point, and Maria Lucia said, "Hey, Sandra, within the Holland Alumni Network, she'd like to lead the entrepreneur community." And I said, "Go ahead," because I know Maria Lucia. She, there's, if you think of miracles, Maria Lucia will make them happen.
Oh my God.
Yes, no, that is very true. So so that has been born out of that initiative from Maria Lucia of leading this entrepreneurial community, and I'm actually it's a pleasure to have joined forces and happy to be here. Thank you, Maria
Thank you,
Lucia.
Sandra. Thank you. And well, here we are. I'm doing this amazing event together. This is the second edition of Here to Start Fest for everybody who's new. We launched last year with Sandra with this dream, to give access to everybody to the world of entrepreneurship, because normally when you go abroad, it's like job, or, you get married, like life happens, right? So in the end, we just want to plant that seed, promote international entrepreneurship, and show you how it's done and show you everything that it's happening, not only success stories, but also all the obstacles, all the challenges, everything you need to know to keep it real, to make it happen, right? So
Right.
Thank you, Sandra.
Right.
Now I'm going to introduce Michaela, and I see you soon, Sandra, for the Q&A.
Sure.
For
Yeah.
special one. Thank you. So Michaela, yay! So Michaela, my new potential best friend. I haven't met you. I love your energy. Let's talk about who you are. I love you.
We are best friends. It's
Yes.
official. It's no longer
Love it.
Yeah. And also, like, how on earth to go after that? Like, just such an incredible story, so much energy. So yeah, I'm Michaela. I'm for anybody who can pick up on the accent, I'm British, born and raised in the countryside in England, and I moved to the Netherlands about a year ago, actually, coming up to my year anniversary. I have to do something special.
Congrats.
Yeah, my background is all things kind of people, culture, scaling, and leadership. So I was working in a company that scaled a lot in London as director of people and growth, and my passion is basically all around building amazing cultures that really support high performance within a team, allowing a business to be successful and then to also scale. And that kind of led me to Unleashed. And just to give a little bit of background as to what we do. So we consult, but we also execute and deliver on all aspects of a company's kind of people experience to help that business to really shape their culture, build a really high performing culture that not only engages but also motivates a team, supports leadership, but also then supporting that business to scale both successfully and sustainably. And that kind of vision really came from us basically seeing how so many businesses get to kind of their Series B and have to kind of reinvent or restructure as a result, I suppose, of not having those kinds of really established and scalable people and culture practices. And we basically realized that there's a better way to scale than by accident. So
I love that sentence. I will print it in a t-shirt.
Yeah,
there's always you can
so true. It's not just
it's
about
true.
adding
It's 100% true. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's incredibly true. And so that's what we're all really passionate about. And I moved to the Netherlands a year ago and have, not having any network here, moving countries, brought the business here, and I've been setting up the business in the Netherlands since then, which has been amazing. So I'm now supporting businesses, startups and scale-ups here, working with accelerators, incubator programs, VCs, but also, that's my specialty, but also growing the network as well. Setting up the business, creating a presence here, which is amazing. What an experience! It's been incredible. Yeah. So thank you very much for having me.
Great.
It's a real
Thank
pleasure
you, Mika.
talking with you all.
Well, you are amazing, and everybody here is amazing because we are not only entrepreneurs, but we are creating communities, and
Yeah.
I agree 100%. Is to be an entrepreneur in general is a really lonely way, right? So the importance and the relevance of creating these communities around what we need, in that moment, in a timely manner, is fundamental. Is a key to success.
100%.
Don't do it alone. Don't stay in that Starbucks, cafe, thinking about what to do with your life. No,
Yeah.
talk to me and Michaela. So basically, that's it. Talk to people like you. And because we know that not everybody is a super extrovert that will just talk to anybody, we want to provide you with what is out there for you to make it, not to struggle for no reason, because of course a lot of people have been there, done that, and this is what we want to share today, the stories of those who are making amazing things. Okay, so I see you soon, Michaela, and let's introduce Julia.
Hello. Hi, Maria. Hi, everyone. I'm really, really happy to be here.
First of all, your background. Wow. This is the statement of what Here to Start is.
Yes,
and international with the world.
We're all global. We're all international. I personally came to the Netherlands 8 years ago. And right now I'm a co-founder of the global think tank for sustainable development and the international community of entrepreneurs, businessgreenhouse.org. But it was not always like that. 8 years ago, I came for a job. 2 years later, I realized I need to be on my own. I need to be an entrepreneur. And actually, I became quite much on my own because I moved to the north of Holland, where I spoke no Dutch. And like the speakers before me mentioned already, the network was practically non-existent. And that was one of the reasons why I created Business Greenhouse, because it provides opportunities for people to mingle, to share, to support each other. But the main project I'm working on now is the lockdown economy. And that is a series of interviews where entrepreneurs share their stories of how the lockdown affected them. And that gives people the voice to speak, that gives them the platform, that also gives others, the viewers, the ideas. Similar to what you're doing here, Maria, and all of us, we are sharing the ideas that we have and the inspiration. So, yeah, I invite everyone to watch that as well. And
great. So where are you from, and for how long have you been in the Netherlands?
Right. So 8 years ago, I came to the Netherlands, but I'm originally from the Russian north, from the Arctic. It's a pretty different environment. And,
like,
when you move countries,
not like this, something like this? No,
I'm afraid not. And, when you move countries, you just have to build everything from scratch. So that was a long journey, interesting journey, and I'm very happy to share it today.
Amazing. Thank you, Julia, and you're super welcome. Amazing, huh? Yolima's up now to do a little introduction, and then we'll continue. Colleen De Lima, yes, there you are.
Yes, I'm here.
You're welcome. Where are you from? You look really like I know where you're from. Where are you from?
Yes, we are from the same land, from the same mountains, actually.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, Yolima, you are the lady of the South. Huh? Let's call it like Game of Thrones. Dun, 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 dun. You are from the South.
Yes, I am in Eindhoven. We are in Brabant, the land of the carnival and the happiness.
So for everybody who knows, who thinks that the Netherlands is Rotterdam, Amsterdam, and The Hague, no,
here we go.
The South.
There is much more in the South.
Yes. So, actually, I arrived to the South the first time I was in the Netherlands just to study at Tilburg University in Brabant area. So let's talk about what you're doing around Eindhoven. What is happening there?
Well, a lot of internationals here. Eindhoven is very famous for design and tech. A few years ago, it was named as the smarter city in Europe. A lot of companies in high tech, a lot of designing, and there is a big festival in design in October. It's the Dutch Design Week. So many internationals are attracted to come here to work. High-skilled migrants, as the visa says.
Yeah.
And they mainly men.
Okay.
So the spouses came along. Mainly men, but the spouses came along, and then they are in a less than appealing situation because they left behind absolutely everything, like career, family, friends, support network, and then they are here suddenly without speaking Dutch, without clear prospects of how to move on with their career or finding a job. And many of them find the way to integrate through entrepreneurship.
Okay, so they start their own business and explore entrepreneurship as a way to what to do with my time. Suddenly, I have all this time. Okay.
Exactly. So it was more like turning an old passion or a hobby into a business, and this is how International Creative Women was born. It was our goal is to create a supportive and powerful community of women so that together we can thrive. But in the meantime, we can increase social cohesion and integration, because that's fundamental and is important for the families, but it's also important for the region, because they invest in relocating the husband, and the numbers show that many of them return to their countries when the spouse is not happy. So
happy wife, happy life, huh?
Exactly. That's the motto. So that's
nice.
That's what we do.
Nice, Yolima. Well, we will talk more about it. Really, really amazing that we have an initiative that is really targeting female, internationals. We have the right people in this discussion panel. We have the right people to, create something amazing together. Let's do a nice recipe. So let's bring all the flavors. Huh? Karen, please bring me all the flavors. Boom. So we have Yolima, we have Sandra, Michaela, and Julia. There we are. Please, Michaela, turn your camera on, please. And unmute yourselves, ladies, so we can talk about many different things. So I will guide the questions, but you're more than welcome to hop on. Of course, everybody who's watching right now, please join us with questions. That's why we do a live event, not a pre-recorded video. So this is live. Look, it's live. So, let's start with some questions. Yeah. The first one will go about local communities. We had that in common, somehow. And I would like to ask specifically, let's get started with Michaela. How can local communities help internationals in business and life?
So, I think, we've all moved to the Netherlands, right, from other places. And I think for me, the thing that helped really the most was network, right? Like, I moved from a place where I had a huge network, and I worked in London for just over a decade. I had a network of people that I worked with and knew, and I moved to a place where I literally didn't know anybody. And I think actually, just meeting people, people being really open to connections, open to introductions, creating opportunities for network, so that people, are able to make those really, really valuable connections was just so important to me. And I think that kind of community and building a community, and it's something that I'm still like, as somebody who's now moved here, and being the person like knocking on doors, trying to build more of a network and find where the community really sit within the Dutch market. I'm now super passionate about building a community that's actually really dedicated to sharing knowledge. And that's why things like this are so important, right? Because, when we are able to create communities where people share their experiences, their challenges, their problems, right, in an environment where everybody can learn, only good things can come from that. And I think that, everyone has that knowledge. So let's really create, initiatives that allow us all to share. And I think that, it doesn't even need to be, vast challenges, surrounding what should I need to get funding for my business? Who are the best people to speak to? It can literally be, I've just moved here. What do I need to do? Do I need
How can I find a place, for example?
How do I find a place to live?
Where do I get the bikes? How can I?
Yeah, I know, and I just think creating this, and it's kind of, making sure that we have an environment here that really is open and welcoming to internationals is so important, because it's only going to then create a hub where more and more internationals are able to live and able to create businesses, which in turn is obviously going to, help us to boost our, the tech ecosystem that's already here. So it's so important that we build this kind of community and network, but we also do things to actively encourage how easy it is for entrepreneurs to move here and start businesses, which I think, there's so many things that are happening, like this, essentially, that really encourage that. But I do think it's so important that we all continue and take an active part in doing that.
In a nutshell, better together, people, better together.
Yeah.
100%. You can try to do it alone, but really it's not going to last. especially if you're abroad, because on top of any entrepreneurial dilemmas or challenges, you're in a new place where you don't know anybody, you don't speak the language, you just like the new, Jenny from the block, huh? So let's talk about exactly Jenny from the block. So what aspects, and I will talk about this more like to see what we need to take into account when getting started. Julia, you help a lot of people also getting started, and in your greenhouse, you listen to what normally is the frequently asked questions. So what aspects should an international entrepreneur take into account when starting a business in the Netherlands? What is the A, B, C? What do you need to take into account before you get started?
I think ABC is a bit difficult to just pinpoint, but definitely one of the things that Michaela mentioned is the network, and you have to have a specific type of mentality. You have to have the attitude that, I am brave to go to people and to speak to people, and I am good and I can do something. So first of all, it starts with an attitude, and of course, if in Holland, in the Netherlands, they have the saying, if you don't ask, you can only get. If you ask, you can only get a no. That's or something like that. The saying basically means that
put yourself out there.
Yes, that means that the worst thing that can happen is that you can get a no. But if you don't ask, you will always get a no. And I think that's the second most important thing that any person who's starting a business should remember, that they always have to try before they put themselves down themselves, And of course, keep in mind that any entrepreneur has to know about the administration, the running the taxes. This is super, super important. Don't register unless you are prepared to deal with it. And local communities is really something that can give you the right knowledge. And I know that Maria has the network of experts, and I know that other communities also have just people happy to share their knowledge in that sense.
100%, like why to do it like that when you can have the right help? The thing is that there's also a cultural difference there. There are many different cultures that are all about me, myself, and I can do it myself. Asking for help is weak, So just putting yourself vulnerable in a vulnerable position and asking for help, because of course you don't have the knowledge. You're the new Jenny from the block, you're new in the city, So of course you need to ask for help, and you need to know that there's so many different channels available, communities, meetups, also Dutch government promoting a lot of things around visa, immigration and startup visa, many different things. And exactly what we're doing and why we do here to Start Fest is actually to not only connect or give access to people, to experts, but also to peers, People like you is so important, So good, really insightful tips. We're going to share more tips on this. I think that also talking about the value that we're bringing to the table, I always tell people, chin up people, because when you're not from a place, it's like, but my English is not so good. How many people say, my English is not so good, these people are too tall, I'm not so confident, to get a Dutch client, so when you recognize the value that what we bring to the Dutch table, that will gives you the empowerment you need to put yourself out there and to say or to feel that you have a voice, that you can actually do something to make it happen, to make this country that we're all in even more interesting, more rich. So let's talk about that with Yolima, because we're talking about the wives, happy wife, happy life. We're talking about it, and you're empowering females that were like, probably like really amazing, doing something amazing back home, and suddenly they're like there, So what can internationals add, like how can internationals add value, to the Dutch culture and to the Dutch market?
A lot. In our community, we have been creating events that are very private, because I founded this community with another Colombian woman. So with Sally, we bring all this flavor and colors from the Latin culture, and is building like a bridge between Dutch communities and locals and internationals, because we show what we have to offer, and we show different colors, we show different food, and we make these events with all the women from so many countries. We have women from more than 40 countries in the community, and this is, they haven't seen all this happening in one place, and they understand a little bit more of us, how process we been through, and it's easier then to connect. And what I mentioned before, the happy wife, happy life is a fact. And then there are more communities here that work with the spouses just to reach that cohesion, so that when the family is happy, when the wife is happy and finds something to do, it doesn't have to be a job, it doesn't have to be a business, it just has to be something that makes her feel that she belongs and she is part of this community. And then her family is happier, and of course the environment where the husband works is easier, and he feels more in peace because he knows that the happy is doing fine.
My wife is
Then
happy.
yeah, it's actually true.
Yeah.
So he can perform better, and the companies are happier, and the relocation goes in a better way. So I think it's very important to pay attention to the internationals coming here, because normally comes one person with a job, but the other person normally is under the radar. And we have been experimenting a lot of problems with mental health and well-being, because this person is completely isolated. They are not going out. They have troubles with the language. They don't get friends. So yes, these kind of communities that connect internationals here in Eindhoven, but also in other cities, are bringing a lot to the table.
So both the fact of having international community and a really diverse community, and also having the chance to start a business, maybe for many people it's just the first time. It's like, now I need to do something about my life, and this is a really valid route, to get started and to integrate into a local community.
Yeah, it goes beyond that. We for example, we use entrepreneurship as the glue, but there are many things going on around being an entrepreneur and start a business. We just create something that keep us together and keep us active, and that we can be happy here after relocating. Yeah.
Yeah, if I can add to that, I mean, that was one of the initiatives also when we started the Holland Alumni Network, was primarily to get the alumni, that those were the former international students who decided to stay in the Netherlands, to be, to connect. Because what would happen is that, I mean, there are universities in all the major cities, but also in other cities, right? Far away from say where most internationals end up living. And what would happen is that move, even from the south to the north, or the south to Amsterdam, really was difficult. It was like, for them, was like starting all over again. And I mean, I had various alumni telling me, I mean, it's like starting all over again, even though we're in the Netherlands. And Julia, you said, you moved from Amsterdam to the north, and it's like starting all over again, because you don't have a network. It's not so easy to integrate, even though it's for most of us that come from other parts of the world. The Netherlands is relatively small, and the distances are relatively easy to accessible. But in terms of what you're saying is, the build of these communities where people meet each other, whether it be for entrepreneurship or for whatever other reason, always brings more on the table than just, the initial value, right? And that is the socialization part, and the finding of people with like-minded that helps you feel like you don't have to tell the story all over again many times. You don't have to explain yourself 1,000 times. Why is it that you don't get this particular, whatever law or cultural difference or whatever it is. It's a place where you can sort of relax that part, or at least people can understand why it is that you don't understand a particular aspect of Dutch culture, if you will. So definitely it's much more than that. But I mean, in terms of what we also as internationals bring to the Dutch society, is a tremendous value of innovation. And what there is a lot of research now, academic research, that has been done in terms of the importance of internationals, because they bring the different perspectives, and therefore you bring a thinking out of the box for particular issues. And And for the Netherlands, that's tremendously essential. The Netherlands ranks number 4 in the world in innovation. And in order to be able to maintain that level, it needs to retain its international talent. And that's actually one of the initiatives of the Holland Alumni Network, is to facilitate that there can be, a connection between the international students who want to stay here in the Netherlands and making it easier for them to enter the Dutch market. Precisely because the country actually wants to be able to retain international talent, primarily for that diversity of perspectives that it brings to innovation. So anyway, that was my little just.
Wow, Sandra, the lady with the facts. I love the numbers, because what am I saying? Wait, I found my way. So it's really good to say Netherlands is an amazing place to be, of course. But in the end, when you come, like, it's a small country, look at what's happening here, look at what the different provinces and areas have to offer, look at the, rankings that we have, and also the percentage of people that decide to stay in the Netherlands after completing their studies, then we see that if we do it right, interesting things can happen in such a small, big place, because we were talking, it's just what was happening. I had like a Q&A today with Adrian from Dutch Mode, which is like one of the showcases of an international who made it in the Netherlands with an amazing startup. And we're really sharing his experience as like how to grow, but also how to be located in the Netherlands really made the difference, because of course we have this highly international, environment. We have the government and the different key players of the ecosystem trying to facilitate things for you. And on top of that, if we know our value as internationals, that's the recipe of success, That's exactly the recipe of success, that if we position ourselves in a way that we are aware 100% of what we can bring to the table and how we can use our creativity, the way that we're innovative, the ways that we can see things and bring things from all over the world to the Netherlands as a position, to empower everybody to create and co-create with locals, which is also really important, the integration between local and international, not like, boom, it's not the Red Sea, people. And sometimes we see it like that. So we will talk about integration as well, but following with Sandra, something that I really liked about when we talk about doing this, starting here to start. When we talk about entrepreneurship, we talk about mindset. We really talk about mindset. And even if you were not an entrepreneur in the past, or you were not having like a divine calling, this is what you have to do with your life. Yeah. Even if you're not that person, the fact that you're outside of your country or even your city means that you have an entrepreneurial mindset, right? As an international, like your DNA is already set to, entrepreneurship, even if it's within a company, wherever you are, right? So Sandra, let's elaborate a little bit more about that. Like, why do internationals have an entrepreneurial mindset by default?
By default, whether you like it or not, you have it. It's in your DNA. Well, I mean, it's the fact of having to be resourceful, the fact that when we come to another country, another culture, we're confronted with what I call the otherness very, very clearly. And consequently, you develop competencies and skills to be able to adapt quickly, question things. You don't see the obvious, so therefore you need to be much more curious, question. You fail, of course, because you hit walls a lot of times. For me, my first years in the Netherlands were hard. I wasn't getting any jobs. I would turn in all kinds of these letters to apply for jobs, and I would keep getting the no's because there was a financial crisis, also economic crisis in the country at the time. So you have to find resilience to be able to get up and go, right? And internationals get confronted with more of that than what you would normally have in your own country, because you know the ways, you know how the legal system works, you know how society is made up, you know your culture, you know your way around. Well, you come to a new country, you don't. So you need to become very resourceful. So, and those are the competencies of entrepreneurs, right? You are resilient. You don't accept the no's. You keep going. You chin up. I really like that term, by the way, Maria Lucia. And it's not easy not to fall and stay, down. So it's important to, come back, and internationals tend to come back. And so that's where I always say that when I work directly with international students, I would say always, you already have so much going for you, because you have these adaptability competencies that are not easy to get if you don't put yourself in an uncomfortable place. And that's what it is, right? And I think that we've been listening to those comments throughout the conference these 2 days. Is you gotta take risks, you gotta put yourself, you gotta know how to take negative feedback, you gotta get the ego out of the equation. All those things is what makes entrepreneurs succeed and keep going. So yeah, that's my take on that.
That's really, really, really important. And I think that is something that we continue listening all over, if you're there, if you ever start something for yourself, even going abroad, which is huge, you know that you must put yourself out there. You must overcome all the inner barriers that you have about asking for help. I'm too shy, I'm too short, I'm too whatever. Excuses not going to make it, right? And it's something that is important also because Michaela and I, who we live in Amsterdam, we also experience by being the new person, and facing everything that can go wrong somehow and also can go right. So yeah, maybe Michaela, you can share a little bit more about how you were dealing with it. Of course, you're a natural, but for those people who are not like you, let's think about those people that struggle, in finding their way through everything. What are the, what is your advice or recommendations on how to start breaking that, comfort zone or those fears? Because many times when people ask me, but how can I find my way? It's like, put yourself in every situation that you're not familiar with. So then you can learn a lot. You can learn, like if you're afraid of online dating, date. If you're afraid of talking to people, go to all the meetups, Put yourself in a situation that you will be learning from yourself. So you see what triggers, what is happening to you. And then you can find your way. You can find what you actually enjoy. What do you think about that?
Well, yeah, I just wanted to make one more point, actually, because I love what Sandra was saying. And I think there's just such a unique mindset that comes from deciding, or also actually like being forced to relocate. And I think actually that's a really important point to make as well, because I think it's important not to ignore the refugee entrepreneurship experience, not everybody moves through choice. And I think even, often entrepreneurship is just born out of necessity, out of having to professionally establish yourself without a support network. And I think either way, there is a need to completely reestablish your support network or understand the different culture that you're in. It kind of forces you to really reevaluate your core assumptions, the core assumptions you kind of might have had when operating in your home market, and actually to really interrogate them and think on your feet. And maybe that international mindset also really, really helps when thinking actually, as an entrepreneur about expansion, that knowledge of the other markets and what could be in other markets. That we realize, point of fact, that we're, this is happening through COVID right now. It's not actually limited to, the Netherlands and the UK or the Netherlands and the US. Actually, it's a much more global conversation. And I think it's also a conversation that we're having when we're talking about remote teams and setting up remote teams as a way of increasing internationalization. Those kind of varying differences and differences of experience in different markets and an understanding of different cultures and being culturally sensitive to different areas of the world and having lived different experiences. It's something that we find so useful. But to your question about, I suppose, jumping into a new market and how you do that. I mean, I think that you have to be pretty resilient, but you also just need to understand. I think it's really about understanding yourself and understanding your strengths and playing to those advantages. If I suppose you could say lucky in the sense that I am quite extroverted. Like I love meeting new people, but that doesn't necessarily mean that somebody's the opposite of that won't be able to succeed setting up a business in the international market, you know.
100%. Yeah.
Understanding your strengths and playing to those advantages and figuring out what works for you. I think also just a lot of research, right? And I think someone mentioned this earlier about, you know, like it's a lot of paperwork, it's a lot of like reading and figuring out, you know, there's so much government support in the Netherlands, which is incredible. But, you know, it also comes back to what we were talking about earlier on about creating community, creating network where we can really share this kind of information, because we have to be promoting, you know, the support available and creating these hubs of information, sharing stories about successful Dutch-based businesses, sharing information about, you know, from entrepreneurs who have launched in the Netherlands and creating these kinds of talking points and discussions. Also in other countries as well, to highlight the difference in a kind of really fair and well-rounded way. I think that's so important as well. But I think, yeah, just playing to your advantages and understanding what makes you so comfortable in growing your network. Is maybe like going to events is just, you know, and being surrounded by loads and loads of people that you don't know is just completely, you know, not something you want to put yourself in that position. I'm quite extroverted, and even I find those situations completely terrifying. Yeah, I think it's just about like finding what works for you and meeting advocates, meeting people who are going to really help and advocate for you. So, yeah.
100%. And yeah, I was actually going to talk to you, Julia. Good.
Yeah, the great minds think alike. If I can add to Michaela's point, I think what we're missing here in this conversation is that a lot of people who are in a new environment, so who want to start something out of necessity, they don't necessarily put a tag on themselves as an entrepreneur. They don't know they're an entrepreneur. They don't know they're a freelancer. They don't know they need a business. They don't know how it works at all. So the fact that we have communities for people who start is amazing. But what is really challenging is that how do we get to people who are not yet sure they're entrepreneurs? They don't know what it means. I had a conversation very recently with a person who's been freelancing for years. She's teaching English. And I said, how about you come to my show? You're an entrepreneur. You tell me about your experience. And she's like, well, I think freelancers is not the same as entrepreneurs. I just do it as kind of a side job. and so she's not going to communities. She's not going to these interviews. So how do we involve them?
Yeah. Wow, that's a really good question, because people also think there's really a bubble around entrepreneurship, because people now really associate entrepreneurship with startups, tech startups, Silicon Valley. So basically, if you're not the next Facebook, get out. No way. So just to keep it real, to really understand what is it, and if you are there or not. Because in the end, when we say, like, let's say this is entrepreneurship, when we say, look at everything that is inside there, and you make it so accessible, so approachable for everybody to understand that just by starting something by themselves, just by thinking in a way that now their life is in their hands, their life, their business, everything is in their hands. And it's up to you. You can be just reading books and traveling and do nothing, If you do something, even is to create these amazing things that are happening in the South with creating women that probably are doing a lot of the things that are out of their own knowledge or learning new things, or like Julia, everybody who's joining in these interviews around what's happening during COVID-19, how you put yourself and find a way to reinvent yourself constantly by facing what happens in life, that is uncertainty. Not only in Corona crisis, we have uncertainty always, and how we adapt, like Michaela said, in a resilient way, adapting to changes and being these chameleonic things, that we move, merge, and adapt constantly. Then people will really understand, oh, this is talking to me, this is speaking to me. Because if you start talking in this really nice slang, CTO, CEO, VP, blah, people are like, this is not for me. I'm not part of that crowd. But if you tell people, like, hey, if you want to start something by yourself, whatever that is, that, your passion, that you're opening a new cafe, you're doing things, that's why we include everybody. If you want to do a workshop for origami people, like whatever, So whatever initiative keeps you awake, whatever thing connects to your core, who you are, your passion, that is entrepreneurship. Yeah, that is entrepreneurship. Yes. Yolima, you're on mute. And we have some questions here from the audience that I want to
I
really
just want to add something very quickly, is that no, you don't have to be outgoing and very social to have a business.
100%.
We have women that they don't even speak Dutch or English, and they have a business because this is digital. So you just can sell online, and you don't need to be this outgoing. So that's a part that you have to also take it into account. There are many other ways to be successful. So it's also for shy people.
Yeah.
If you're shy, check as well. You know, it's for everybody. It's for everybody. You know, girls, well, our time is almost up. And I would like to reply to some questions from the audience and then just wrap it up with one question that I have for all of us, actually. The questions from the audience. Do you have a remote work before COVID? What is the impact that having this remote work has in your projects or success right now? That would be like for Julie as well. So how did COVID impact what you are facing right now, and how remote work basically can be the future, or actually the situation, you know, to continue working in your project or business?
If I may start, right? My projects were all practically stopped because of the COVID. It was all in person. We were just sort of sensing the market. We were just getting out there. We were just making the connections, and whatever we had booked was all canceled. And then I entered the state of what somebody called recently the strategic procrastination, which is when you stop, but you don't really stop. So that's an interesting thing. And eventually, while I was reflecting and looking at what people are doing, I thought, okay, the insights into how entrepreneurs are bearing this crisis are really important. So that's how I started the interview series, lockdowneconomy.org. I invite everyone to watch it. And in interest of time, I pass on the word to the next speaker.
Good. Well, I think that's also time is up. And I would like to just wrap it up because we said so many different things together that really gives like a lot of hints, tips, you know, insights on what we are facing as entrepreneurs, what we face by living together in the Netherlands and leading all these amazing communities and helping people basically to find their way, wherever they're standing, you know, even if it's an initial idea or they're ready to scale, whatever they are, or if they're students and they're thinking what is next in their careers. I think that during this whole panel, we show what it can be, you know, from different angles. And I want to thank you for joining us today, you know, and to see how we together join forces. We are joining forces to promote international entrepreneurship because we're the ambassadors. Like, look, this is what I did. This is how it works. And not only me, look at my community. She did it without even learning Dutch and English. He did it just graduating, you know. She did it coming from the UK. And she did it interviewing people, you know, to show them how it's done. So thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you, Maria. It was fantastic.
Maria, if I can just say one word, I mean, the whole idea of Here to Start is precisely to facilitate, you know, Michaela, what you said in terms of awareness for people on how to get a business started. And this is what it's all about. I mean, it's giving, you know, this platform for people to join and find partners, ideas, and in a community. So I hope that we can make it grow and that you guys help us make it grow. Thank you, Maria Lucia, for leading this.
I want to have it on record. Can I count on you, girls? Yay! On the record. Hey, thank you, everybody. And I invite you all to close with the last discussion panel on the future of international entrepreneurship coming up next.
Yeah,
you are super invited.
Yeah.
I see you there, and thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.